Here we go. We are live. Fish fossils with a paleontologist. Can you believe it? We've got a couple people in chat already. Hello there. I don't recognize either of you guys. Thanks for being here. You're welcome to check out all of the pond life shenanigans. They're going on all over the page. This is not a regular time where we live stream. It is a great time to live stream. And I understand that from way down under there, Sir Pronalot sometimes live streams in this slot. So I sent Sir Pronalot a message begging his forbearance. This was a schedule that worked out for my guest and I. I do not plan on streaming from this time slot long term, maybe ever again. But just so that he knew, I sent him notification that this was going on. I recognized that he was here first, not trying to bump him or step on him. So thank you for your forbearance, Sir Pronalot of Australia. If you haven't checked out Sir Pronalot's YouTube channel, you might enjoy it. Lots of cool things going on with those fish keepers down there in Australia. We're friends with many of them here in the Fish Fam. And certainly Sir Pronalot is an up-and-coming YouTube phenomenon. Speaking of which, we have got a powerhouse of a guest here tonight. Our special guest is Ashby Gale of Charleston, South Carolina, a bona fide professional working paleontologist with credits piling up already. This guy's an accomplished author, business owner, and fossil hunter. I've been enjoying his content on YouTube. The name of his channel is Charleston Fossil Adventures, CFA. Anthony Fishy Friends is here. Yo, Discus and Betas, way to jump in there. Good to have you guys. We're going to be talking fish fossils with Ashby Gale, a paleontologist who's just got a new book hot off the press. I can't wait to get my copy, A Beachcomber's Guide to Fossils. I'm a beachcomber. We've talked about it before here on Pond Life live streams. I've got a couple of videos up on the Pond Life channel, fish fossils, shark teeth. It's just something that I love to engage nature with. It's just beach combing, picking up things that remind me of past fish, maybe the beginnings of aquarium fish keeping. Maybe I'm not the only one. Maybe everybody has a natural interest in beach combing, finding the things, figuring out what the things are. And one of the things that's easiest to figure out is a shark tooth. It's flat, triangular, sharp, and believe it or not, they're kind of prolific. Once you get the target image in your mind, if you go to the right place with a little bit of guidance, like our friend Ashby is going to share with us in a few minutes, you got a good chance of finding a fossil on the beach, even a shark tooth. Brienne Farrell is here. Great to have you back, Brienne. Skipper's Aquariums. Good to see you there. We've got Angela Cross here, Pond Wife. Thanks for being here. She's got the wrench tonight, so anybody gets out of line, you're going to be answering to Pond Wife up there. All right. And I think that's going to do it for the announcements. We're going to move right along. We're going to bring Ashby Gale in here. Let's see what Ashby is up to. Oh, my goodness. Ashby Gale, paleontologist with the fossil fish there. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty great. How about yourself, Rack?
Doing great. It's good to see you again, Ashby. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want you to tell us a little bit more about yourself and that fossil you're holding.
Absolutely. So you asked how I'm doing. Obviously, I'm doing a little better than this guy who unfortunately died at the bottom of a lake about 50 million years ago. Yeah, slow, painful death. Again, my name is Ashby Gale. I am a paleontologist. I live down here in Charleston, South Carolina, on the coast, which is usually a nice, warm, humid, balmy environment. Tonight, we're in the 40s. So I'm wearing my winter gear like I used to wear up at my alma mater.
You look cozy there in the Charleston Fossil Adventure studio.
Yes, thank you. So I got my degree up at Appalachian State University in the mountains of North Carolina.
Beautiful country right over the hill.
Absolutely. So my degree is actually in environmental science. And that's, ironically enough, something you see with a lot of paleontologists You will be hard pressed to find a professional working paleontologist with a piece of paper on their wall that says bachelor's in paleontology or even a master's in paleontology. A lot of them are going to have environmental science, evolutionary biology, geology, and so again, mine is in environmental science. So I have a nice big broader scope and understanding of how our planet works. I do have a minor in biology that helped me study and more focus on the animal life that used to be here. Real quick, you said I'm with Charleston Fossil Adventures, and that is my business. Of course, with the pandemic, I haven't been leading in-person trips since I temporarily shut down in March.
Well, your governor shut down your access to sites there for a while, right?
Yes, he did. They shut down landing on shorelines, which is primarily how I access my sites here. And even when the shorelines were opened back up, or when the waterways were opened back up, the shorelines weren't. So you could be on the water, but you couldn't land.
Oh, wow. Great.
So it's a little hard to kind of spot a fossil from a boat or from a kayak and grab it before you drift by.
Yeah, they're not, for me, you're a professional. For me, they're not easily found. It takes some effort. You don't want to add any handicaps while you're looking.
No, you don't. So during regular years, I do lead trips for individuals out by kayak, also by foot, wow. And when the pandemic is over, also by motorboat to some of the dredge islands around Charleston that have deposits dating as old as 30 million years, which is pretty phenomenal to think about.
Well, I'm definitely going to be on one of those trips as soon as you start engaging. And I said as soon, I don't know if I'm up for a winter trip on the water, but soon we're going to be on a trip with you, Ashby.
Absolutely. March is usually a good time to get back into the swing of things as the days get
noted.
So
projection, right? You hope to be running tours again by March.
Yes. Basically how we're going to restart is we're going to have private trips to begin with. And basically that's where we aren't going to mix family groups or households. So if you want to grab your aunt who lives in another city and your brother who lives in another city and bring them on the tour with you, that's fine. I just, as a business owner, won't be mixing households. We'll leave that up to the client to do, just so that everyone is safe in that.
Understood. I think you're just being smart.
Trying to be, not trying to make a quick buck, just trying to share the wonderful prehistoric life of Charleston with everyone.
Well, now that you've mentioned that, I want to say to our viewers that I've known Ashley for a little while. We've communicated several times over the last several weeks, and I find him to be a true professional. This isn't a hack job. Let me show you something that's really cool by selling you on shark teeth, and you get Shark Week frenzy. And you want to go do a vacation adventure kind of thing. Ashby is a real paleontologist. He's a professional. And if you'll watch a couple of videos, you'll know what I'm saying. He backs up what I'm saying better than I could speak on his behalf. Now, I do want to ask you a couple of questions, Ashby. I know you've got some really cool things to show us. You gave me a little preview. I can't wait for you to share those things. But I am in line to get one of your books. Can you tell us about your book?
Yeah, so I sadly don't have an actual copy here. This is one that I made to look like the book.
You didn't have to tell us that. We would never know.
Okay, well, full disclosure, I'm an Eagle Scout. I have to be honest with people. So not the actual book, but this is the size. It's going to be a 6x9. Now, this is a guide that I have co-written with my parents, Bob and Pam. And for any South Carolinians out there, you might recognize who the foreword is by. It's by Rudy Mankey, who's the past curator of the State Museum in Columbia. Okay. And he does Nature Scene, So he very generously helped us with the foreword. Now we've worked 6 years to get this book to come out.
And who published it?
The what?
Who published it?
The University of Georgia Press.
Okay.
So this went through a series of peer review with anonymous reviewers and full-blown deal. You know, this wasn't just us cramming something through Amazon. No harm in doing that, but we wanted to make sure that we did it right.
So this is a peer-reviewed book.
It is.
And you are co-author and photographer.
There are over 1,200 images, full color images. And by the way, the book is over 500 pages long. It has over 300 fossils highlighted that you can find from Texas to Florida, all the way up to New Jersey.
That's
so
really
it covers.
Now I'm curious, what's the MSRP on the book? That sounds like an expensive title.
It sounds expensive, but believe it or not, it's only $30.
Wow.
So
I don't understand book economics, but that sounds like a bargain.
Yeah, it really is. We're very grateful to the University of Georgia for helping us with this, since it is our first field guide. But it's 1 pound. It's 1.1 pounds of book. It's a lot of book.
That is a lot of book. Well, I'm looking forward to getting a copy now. Tell us about how we're going to get a copy of this. I know, but I want to hear you say it.
So our book birthday, as the press calls it, is December 15th, 2 days ago.
2 days ago.
It should have been on shelves 2 days ago. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it sold out. It got completely booked up by pre-orders. Pardon the pun.
Congratulations, Ashby.
Thank you.
I know there are a lot of jealous authors out there.
It's we were not expecting it. We were hoping it would be a hit, but we honestly could not have predicted that the first printing would have sold out.
But there's good news, and the good news is
you can still pre-order it for the second printing, and they're doing a second printing, and they've started the second printing. I don't know, a few days ago, a couple weeks ago, I don't know, but that's
awesome, buddy. I'm so glad for you. Well, the second printing is going to sell out quickly too. You can go to Amazon and pre-order.
You can, although
can you pre-order on your website?
Not yet, just because I haven't. Again, this isn't the book. I've not received my copy. My business has purchased some books. It's not received the copies yet. So really, what we're encouraging people to do is going to the University of Georgia Press, their website, and pre-ordering it there.
Okay, there you go.
You eliminate the moving parts of someone in between, and you're still going to get it for the same price.
Okay, so, let me repeat that. If you want to get in line for Ashby's book, which is awesome, go to the University of Georgia Press site and pre-order it there. That way you cut out all the moving middle pieces, and you're going to be sure to get your copy as soon as it's available. Now, I'm going to interrupt our train of thought here because I see a buddy of mine in chat, Mass Aquariums. That's Mike over at Mass Aquariums. I'm so glad you made it, Mike. Thank you very much for your support of the Pond Life channel. Mike is here because I sent him a text and said, hey, I'm going to have a paleontologist on as a guest, and he's going to tell us how to hunt for shark teeth. And the reason that's important to Mike and I is because somehow through the years we got to know each other from our YouTube channels. And Mike mentioned to me that he likes to vacation with his family in North Myrtle Beach, and recognized that sometimes people were finding shark teeth on the beach, but he had never found one. And I said, well, I found a lot of shark teeth in the Myrtle Beach area because when I was a teenager, I would go to the beach with my $25 of spending money and spend it in the first 2 hours at an arcade and not have any money left for the rest of the week. And beach combing was free. And I had a lot of time to do beach combing. So when I found my first shark tooth, I couldn't wait to find my second one. And I have never stopped collecting shark teeth since I was a teenager. So I gave Mike some tips. And last summer when he was on vacation, he's out there playing in the sand. We're texting back and forth. I didn't find any today, well, try this. Look in the tide line. Look in the shell bed. Then he sends me this triumphant picture of he and his son had found shark teeth. And then for the rest of the week, they found a few more. So Mike and I have a real connection with shark teeth. And I wanted to make sure that he was here tonight to hear Ashby talk about shark teeth, because if you haven't been to the Charleston Fossil Adventures YouTube channel yet, you don't know what you're in for. This guy finds shark teeth. And I say that in a big way because they're big teeth compared to the ones that I won't show you one now. A, it will be blurry. B, it's just not impressive. But Ashby knows how to do it. I want you to check out this YouTube channel for your own entertainment. And don't you can already tell you're going to be educated when you get there, but it's going to be a good time. Kayaking adventures, beachcombing adventures, all kinds of fossils. Now, I took a sidebar there, Ashby, not to steal your thunder, but I've been looking forward to saying these things for a week now since we decided to do this. I just blurted it out there all in one breath.
That's
so
great.
We're on board with your book. We're going to go to the University of Georgia Press to pre-order that. Over a pound, over 500 pages, $30. Holy cow, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
And it's got pictures. I do well with pictures. 1,200 images taken by you.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to get that. Okay, now tell us a little bit more about fossils. I'd like for us to start kind of on the ground floor. Maybe tell us, what is a fossil?
Right. It's one of the questions that scientists often ask themselves is the what. So what constitutes let's say I don't have a modern bone with me, but I have a modern shell. So what constitutes this being modern, whereas this cluster of bryozoan is fossilized. So one of the first things that needs to happen for an organism to turn into a fossil, I tell everyone, is unfortunately that organism has to die. And we need to start with death in order to get the bones and the teeth so many years later. Now, ideal scenario, if we could have it this way every single time, it would be fantastic because we could find fully articulated skeletons. But right after that organism dies, we want a very rapid burial, or we want it to be undisturbed and sheltered from the elements. So a good example of that doesn't include burial would be, say, in the back of a cave. And there's plenty of cave deposits that have fossils that are not as durable or dense as, say, a bone or shark tooth you find on the beach, but they've been back in this cave long enough to become a fossil. So we'll go back to the standard procedure for a bone turning into a fossil. Right. So we have rapid burial. So many layers of dirt get piled up on this. Mm-hmm. I kind of skipped a step in the burial process. Being covered up by water is a really good way to turn into a fossil. Let's say you're a pond turtle in a pond, and you've got this really hard shell, a lot of bones in you because of that, because their shell is bone, just like our limb bones. So that pond turtle dies, belly up, and sinks down to the bottom. He nestles down into those silts and the other clades and leaf litter down at the bottom of the pond. And over time, over years, more silt gets deposited on top of him. His flesh has been eaten away by little small minnows in the pond, and we're left with just the bone that has that silt being deposited on top of it. After that, let's say the pond dries up, there's some more detritus and other soil that gets packed on top of it, and over time it's going to start going down into the ground or having land built up on top of it. Well, it is during that time that the mineralization process begins. So that turtle skeleton is going to at one point enter the groundwater table, or at least be surrounded with water for a really good amount of time. And groundwater, and my favorite example is holding up a bottle of Dasani And this is what I do with the kids when I go to school. I will say the Dasani label says enhanced with minerals for a smooth, great taste. And I ask the kids, what's a mineral? And they're like, well, mineral is a type of rock, or it's a part of a rock. And so I show it to the kid in the front row and I say, okay, so they say, Dasani says this water has rocks in it. Do you see rocks in this bottle? And the kid looks at the bottle, says, no, I don't see any rocks. And I'm like, that's right, because the rocks, the minerals are dissolved. They are in the water. So this turtle skeleton is down. It's sitting in the groundwater table. We have groundwater laden with dissolved minerals seeping into this bone. And at minimum, over a period of 10,000 years, the minerals present in that groundwater will start coating the walls and the cellular structure of that bone. And then as that water is driven out, the minerals that have solidified and have come out of solution stay behind on that bone. So this isn't like a dinosaur track where the dinosaur steps in and rock fills the track, and so we're left with a trace of that animal. Many times the bones we are dealing with are mineralized bone, and so that's the definition of a fossil, is a mineralized bone.
So just like Not Nola Jane Fishrich in the chat said, they actually do turn to stone.
That's right, they do. And it's not a copy of the bone. It is still the actual bone. It's just been coated with minerals. And you can hold a bone that has been mineralized, and if you clank it against a ring or something hard, it will ping, and it won't make a dull thud like a deer bone on the side of the road would.
Pretty interesting stuff. And so is any organic material then could become fossilized under the right condition?
Under the right conditions, it really can. And as case in point, I've got a shark vertebra, or a shark centrum here, from a precursor to Megalodon, and it's calcified cartilage. It's because I'm sure all of your aquarists know that sharks don't have bones. They're made of cartilage, very different types of cartilage. So the centra are calcified cartilage. Now, sharks also have what's called prismatic cartilage, and under the right condition, that can fossilize as well. And the prismatic cartilage is what you're going to find up a little more in the skull. And I really don't know if this is going to come through the camera, but I don't think it is. There are little dots all over the surface of this.
We're not getting the dots, just the shape.
Okay, so this is actually prismatic cartilage from the skull of a shark that I collected here in Charleston.
That's
so this was under really ideal conditions to fossilize.
Yeah, because the cartilage sometimes wouldn't stand up to its environment in order to become that. I guess it wouldn't withstand the test of time. It would disintegrate prior to becoming mineralized.
Yep, absolutely.
But you've got a couple there, so given the right conditions, it can happen.
That's right. And this one is something more like palatal cartilage or something branchial cartilage, so not quite an ear bone.
Oh, okay.
But we can find, and I actually highlight an ear bone from a shark in my Shark Science Week video. It's called an odic capsule, and that was collected.
What video is that again?
It's a Shark Science Week.
Shark Science Week. Okay, and that's on the Charleston Fossil Adventures YouTube channel.
That it is.
Okay, we've got Fish Room Fever in the chat now. James is a great friend and supporter. Glad to have him here, also a moderator. And he opened up a bag of Bago Beach on his live stream last week. We're going to get to that. I want to get your comments on the Bago Beach, Ashby. I sent you a bag of that as well to take. Yeah, there it is.
There it is.
We'll get your thoughts on that here in just a minute.
Okay.
But, as promised, I told some people if they'd show up that you'd reveal some secrets about beach combing. So
Okay.
if you don't mind spilling the beans, Ashby, how do we find these coveted shark teeth? And I'm telling you, I'm an old man, and since I was a teenager, it has always been a thrill. When I bend over in the surf, I pick up that thing, and it turns out to be a shark tooth. That is an exciting moment for me. I really enjoy it. If you could help me do that more often, I would appreciate it. What's your best advice?
Absolutely. So honestly, my best advice is a little boring because a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to the beach. I'm going to find some shark teeth. I'm going to dig a hole. I'm going to sift. I'm going to, stand out in the waist deep water and just sift all that sand and find the big ones that aren't on the beach." Believe it or not, the method I use to any beach that I go to, this applies in country, out of country, wherever I go, is I just walk and I use my eyes and I surface collect on what the water has already exposed. And this is the same method that I use on my trips. Everyone's like, "Oh, do we need to dig down a little bit?" It's like, no, the second you do that, especially on a nice sandy beach like here in South Carolina, Florida, you are disturbing the wet sand. And what that does is there are those wet sand grains will actually start coating the fossils and start covering them up. And what I do when I'm out on the beach, and the thing that we're looking for fossilized teeth on our shorelines, is we're looking for color. And that color is extremely dark black.
Mm-hmm.
And if you start digging, then that wet sand starts sticking to all of the teeth and it starts hiding all of the black fossils the tide has uncovered.
Okay, so I'm paying attention here. So the first step in establishing your target image is color. And on the East Coast, Southeast Coast, it's black.
Super dark black. I mean, as black as my bow tie, as black as your black flip-flops. It looks like charcoal. It looks like tar. A lot of people are going to walk the beach. They're going to pick up, I pulled this out of your bag of beach. It's a bit of a moon snail shell.
All right.
It's black. A lot of people will pick this up, especially when it's wet, and they'll say, "Oh, this is black." But the second that you hold that black object next to a fossil, you realize, oh my goodness, that's actually blue-gray. So,
super tip.
Yes, pitch black.
Yeah, I've got a fossil here. It won't matter. I'm just going to show it because of its size. Black, just black.
Yeah.
So, and I picked it up on the beach, not knowing it was a fossil, but it was black.
That's right.
So that is a great tip. And so, do you do this surface hunting in the surf, on the tide line, low tide, high tide?
Yeah. So what I will typically do, especially if I'm new to a beach, and this, I mean, honestly, I've not been up to Myrtle Beach in a couple of years. So I would do this if I went from Charleston to Myrtle Beach. I would go out to Myrtle Beach at low tide. And what I'm doing, what that tells me, is the teeth might not be at the low tide line. I might get out to Myrtle Beach and I might look and I see a line of rocks or a line of shell debris going down the beach, parallel to the surf line.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be looking for that line of material, and the waves are sorting things by size. So those shark teeth, you're looking for maybe 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters long tooth. They're going to hang out with shells of the same size. So when I go at low tide, what I'm doing is I'm looking, where is that line of shells? And that way I'll know if this is a super busy beach like Myrtle, and I see that shell line is about halfway up the beach from where the water is, I'll come out tomorrow at 3 hours before low tide. Theoretically, when that water is washing through that shell line, and then I will be there. I'll be the first person that sees something get uncovered, and I'll have more success that day than the first day.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. I've always had good luck searching in what I call the shell bed, because you've got fine sand, particularly particulate, the grayish, blonde sand, and then you'll have dark beds of larger pieces of crushed shell. And what you're saying is that because this is a heavier deposit, all of the heavier pieces are going to commingle. So that's where you're going to find the larger shark teeth.
Yep.
Now, I've never found a giant shark tooth. I have found a megalodon shark tooth on Myrtle Beach, and it was probably about 2.5 inches. Had very surf worn, very surf worn. But I've found hundreds, dare I say 1,000, tiny to medium jewelry grade even. I've always enjoyed having a little shark tooth on a necklace made while I was at Myrtle Beach. But I did a lot of walking and looking, and what you're saying is absolutely true. You learn quickly to look for black, and I found just through trial and error, yeah, the shell beds, that's where the action's at. That's where it happens. That's the magic. You can find them just on the sand, but you're going to spend your time a lot more wisely if you'll stay there in the shell beds.
Yeah.
And so going at low tide, that gives you at least a scouting opportunity to find out. Like if you're on vacation, typically you're going to stay at the same, resort hotel for the week. So go out first evening, find low tide, and look for those shell beds, and then estimate when those are going to be being washed in the shallow surf to move the loose sand and other debris off of a shark tooth that might show up better if it were being washed. What kind of shark tooth is that, Ashby?
Now, because we're dealing with camera resolution here, can you tell me, does the edge of that tooth have serrations, or is it completely smooth?
Smooth.
So that tooth is from the extinct precursor to today's great white shark.
It's an extinct great white shark.
Yeah.
Okay, I found that tooth in a fossil shop.
Uh-huh.
I found a lot of tooth there, cheap because it was broken up.
Right.
Yep. Here's those other teeth. Now we're going to get off subject. What is that?
Oh, that's a horse incisor.
Oh, okay. It's a horse incisor, like a modern horse.
Well, it's from the modern genus of horses, Equus, but it's from that genus that lived here during the Ice Age, 11,000 to 2 million years ago.
Is that something you would find on a beach?
Yes, you certainly can. In fact, our book highlights many of those Ice Age fossils that you can find. I've found a piece of a saber from a saber-toothed cat on Folly Beach. I've found a dire wolf tooth out there. I've found a panther toe bone.
On Folly Beach.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that answers the question where Folly Beach is a public beach. It's beautiful. If you haven't been there, you're missing out. I mean, it's just does Charleston have a beach, or is Folly Charleston's beach? How does that work geographically?
I mean, Folly is one of the closest beaches to downtown, although on some days it can take you an hour to get there from downtown because it's one road on and off. There's not really a beach that Charleston says this is our beach. But Folly is one of them. Sullivan's, Isle of Palms are other neighboring ones. We can answer this question here real quick.
Yeah, you got a question, grab it.
Yeah, so asking why the fossils are black. I was prepared for that question. It's as if I've done this before.
Nice.
Here's the answer, basically. So right here, we have a cow nose stingray tooth. And this whole thing isn't the tooth. It's just that little line right there. Same goes for this shark tooth. That's a snaggletooth shark tooth.
Those are so cool.
And both of these are embedded in a rock. Same deal with this. This is a shark vertebra embedded in a rock. So these are called phosphate nodules. And this is a sedimentary rock. It forms offshore in reducing or very acidic conditions out on the continental shelf in a very calm, undisturbed environment. So we're not talking, 10 feet off from the beach and the shoreline, because we call that a high energy environment. Waves are constantly crashing against the shore. Sediment and bones and teeth and shells are getting moved all over the place. So we're talking way off on the continental shelf, very calm sediment. These nodules can start forming underneath the sediment layers out there on the continental shelf.
Okay.
And when they do, they start dissolving anything calcium carbonate. So you can see those little curved lines there. Those are where clamshells used to be in that sediment. And when this phosphate nodule formed, it mineralized that stingray tooth and it dissolved all of those little shells. And then that hole is where a coral used to be, and it dissolved the coral. Now, when phosphate forms and is still currently underneath salt water, when they wash up, we're going to see them and they are going to be pitch black. And so that's why all of our bones and teeth, for the most part, washing in from the ocean are going to be a super dark black. That's not to say that if this was suddenly on land for even a period of time as short as 100 years, it could have some plant roots that start a very acidic etching of the fossil and start putting white lines on the fossil. So that can happen relatively quickly once it's fossilized.
Okay. Well, that being said, I'm reminded that sometimes I'd bend over and pick up something in the surf that's black and it's not a fossil. So if someone hears what we're talking about tonight and they do that, you're not doing it wrong. Keep on doing it that way. You may have to pick up a lot of little black things before you actually encounter a fossil. Do you do that also, Ashby, or is your eye 100%?
I wish I could say my eye was 100%, but I do pick up a lot of rocks. And in fact, I can grab something here that a lot of people will say, oh, that just looks like a rock. So this guy, kind of amorphous looking, not a lot of defined shape unless you're really looking for this nice curve. This is a larger version of this bone, which is an ear bone from a whale.
Crazy.
This one's going to be from something like a right whale, whereas this one's going to be from a much smaller cetacean or whale or dolphin. So we're looking definitely more dolphin size on this guy. But they look a lot like rocks.
No kidding. I just was thinking that's exactly why I want to get my hands on your book. It's going to be a field guide to fossils that I would maybe chunk back into the ocean. And right. After reading your book, maybe wish I hadn't.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we know about the shark teeth, triangular black. We know why it's black. We know fossils can look like rocks now. We need to be careful. And Folly Beach, for those of you not familiar with Folly Beach, you've probably heard of Myrtle Beach. Folly Beach is probably a couple hours south on the same coast, just right down the road, basically. You'll go through Murrells Inlet, where you can stop and have some wonderful seafood, the best seafood of your life, and then head on down to Folly Beach from Myrtle. From me, my nearest interstate is Interstate 26, and the southern terminus is Charleston. So I just hop on the interstate and keep driving until, my tires get wet and I'm at the beach. So that's a very accessible place to find shark teeth. And for an average person, an average vacationer, Ashby, what are the chances they could go out on Folly Beach on vacation for a week and find a shark tooth?
Yeah, without a doubt. Even on a day when there isn't a lot of fossil material out there, you can still go out on the beach and usually find a bone fragment, if not at least one shark tooth. You might have to walk a bit to find it, but they are there. And the reason why Folly is so fossil rich or fossiliferous is because of a beach renourishment or dredging where they pumped up a bunch of sediment.
Oh.
And the dredging crew accidentally dipped down into a limestone unit that's 3 to 5 million years old, and you can find it looks like chunks of concrete on the beach, and it's that limestone, and it can have fossil shells in it even.
Does it look like this?
Yeah, basically.
So that's what kind of shell is that?
That one's most likely some type of oyster.
Yeah, it looks like an oyster. Yeah, okay. So there's the secret, folks. For the viewer that's paying attention tonight, there's the secret. Because Ashby's a paleontologist, he just gave you the secret. A dredging crew accidentally cut into a shark tooth graveyard and just tossed it right up on the beach for everybody to look through and collect the shark teeth. And that is at Folly Beach.
Yep.
Now, is that north or south of the Folly Beach Pier?
Believe it or not, it's right at the pier.
Either side, right at the pier.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got beer and ice cream and fishing right where you want to find your shark teeth. Like, we just made an impact on economic impact through tourism, Ashby. Thanks for being here. And I know Folly Beach thanks you too.
That's right.
All right. And I know you've got some fossils I want you to show us. But before we do, I want to tell our guys that are in here, guys and gals, that Ashby's no stranger to fish keeping. He has professionally kept both freshwater and saltwater tanks. So Ashby, tell us about some of your experience as a fish keeper.
So this was when I was the interpretive ranger down at Edisto Beach State Park.
Edisto Beach, very close to Folly.
Yeah, it's about an hour south.
Okay, further south.
Geographically, it's very close, but to get there, it takes an hour.
Okay.
Just because, as with anything here on the coast, you have to go up, over, and down to get anywhere. So yes, so I managed the Environmental Learning Center there, and we had many 10-gallon aquariums. We had some 50-gallon aquariums. We had a large 300-gallon L-shaped saltwater touch tank.
Oh, nice.
That we kept debarbed or clipped barbed stingrays in. We had about a 50-gallon tank with a baby alligator.
Cool.
We had diamondback terrapins. We had terrestrial box turtles. And then our main tank was, I'm fairly certain it was at least 500 gallons. It was a saltwater tank. We had spadefish in there. When I first got there, we had some spadefish that were probably at least 18 inches tall.
Oh my gosh.
They were huge.
I think the biggest one I've ever seen was maybe 6 inches tall.
These guys were massive. They were beautiful fish.
Yeah.
And we kept burrfish, we kept croaker, red drum, black drum, spot. We tried sharks. Unfortunately, we didn't have a cylindrical tank. So we tried to make a tank work, but it just didn't work. We didn't have the right flow, and of course the corners don't work.
Now, a burrfish, is that one of the puffers?
It is a relative of the puffers. So he is within the porcupine fish rather than the true puffer fish.
But does he puff up?
Yes, he does.
Okay.
And I got to see that.
What, pompano? Did you have pompano, whiting?
I'm sorry, what was that?
The fish in your saltwater tank, did you keep any pompano or whiting?
Oh, we didn't do pompano. We did keep the occasional whiting. The only pompano I ever got to see were the little 2-inch long ones that were in the surf. None of the big ones.
And what about either of the sea trout?
We tried sea trout. they didn't play well with some of the other species.
They're a
So
predator, yeah.
yeah, I mean, you look at those teeth, and we kept black sea bass.
Okay.
Hmm.
I've seen those taken on the pier occasionally. They're very popular on the head boat fishing trips where they go out and fish wrecks and what have you. But I've seen a couple come up shallow there on the pier. So now, personally, have you ever had an aquarium?
I have. As a kid, I had a 10-gallon freshwater that I kept, and then more recently, I've had a beta fish.
You say beta?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Big debate now in the fish community, beta or beta. And the world's big enough for both. It doesn't need to be polarizing. Say what you know, what you're comfortable with saying. So, and we've talked about this a time or two, Ashby. I want to encourage you to get back into the aquarium hobby. And, coming up after our live stream, KG Tropicals is going to be next. And they just started a new online business, keepfishkeeping.com. And a big part of their business is beautiful, world-class bettas. And I'd like for you to jump back in there if you're ready. And
Okay.
I'd be happy to assist you.
Yeah, I mean, we, my wife and I just bought this house, so
Congratulations.
thank you. So we're looking at getting another tank.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you'll go to keepfishkeeping.com and pick out the betta of your choice, I will be glad to purchase that fish for you and your wife. A little thank you, if you will, for being a guest on tonight's show.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you. That would be wonderful.
Okay, that's keepfishkeeping.com, owned by John and Lisa over there at KG Tropicals. Let me show you what they look like so you'll be friends.
All right.
There's John and Lisa and Rack and Angela. We'll get you a betta fish. I'm interested to know what you and Tabitha are going to name your betta. But you don't have to decide now. You can tell me later.
Right. Yeah, we'll reveal that at a later date.
Okay, you've got our attention. You're the guy. Now, I know you have some fossils. This is like it's like having an animal guy on the show that's going to bring out animals, only they're not alive, but far more interesting. They're older, they're cooler, they're rarer. So have at it, Ashby. Show us what you brought.
All right. So I guess I'll circle back around to the one I appeared with, and that would be these two fish. So you got the big guy right there, and then the little guy.
Yeah.
The head of one. These are. This is half of one of the fish. It's actually, you can see the darker spots are bits of the fish, wherein you might have some of the skin and the scales in the lighter color.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 50-million-year-old deposit called the Green River Formation. It's out in Wyoming. It's a very, very famous fossil deposit for fish, also insects and plants, even some reptiles, very rarely some mammals, but it is basically this big mass die-off within a larger lake, and you get lots and lots of very well-preserved fish, and this sandstone and shale that's out there, you can actually split it, and the individual that found this one split it, and they kept the side that had more of these fish bones.
Did not know that. So that's more of the impression versus the actual.
A bit, yes. So again, yeah, like more of an impression, more of like the skin and the scale material, okay, rather than the darker. Like, if it won't come through on the camera, but the spine of this fish is just the impression. So the other half has the actual bones of the fish. But it's a really cool deposit, and if anyone ever gets out there, there are sites where you can go collect material from this, and if you've ever been in a gemstone or a mineral store, you've seen a fish on a slab of rock like this, I guarantee you with 95% chance that that fish came from this formation.
I'm familiar with that Green River. Now, would the fish with the side of that fossil with more bone be more valuable in the trade?
You know, yeah, to an
Okay.
extent. I don't deal really much with the sale of fossils. This one was actually given to me by a client. He collected it and shipped it to me.
Oh, he collected it. That's cool.
Yeah. So I don't, in terms of putting value on fossils, that's something that I really don't do as a professional. And you don't really see museums doing that as well. But a little bit of a sidebar there. But
yeah, we're on a rabbit trail now. We'll get off of that and back to your next fossil.
All right. So this one is another very recognizable one, even if you don't know much about fossils. You could look at this and say, that looks like a fishtail. And sure enough, it is. This is called a hypural bone.
Hypural bone.
Yeah.
And you were telling me that every fish has that bone.
Yeah, so basically, if you look right there, there's the end of the vertebral column. And then this very last bone, it articulates with the last vertebra in the spine. And then it flares out into this paddle-shaped bone that provides the structural support for that nice caudal fin.
Nice. And you confirmed that it would be similar to the human coccyx bone, which is at the end of our vertebral column.
Right. Now I've got another one from this region of the fish.
Did you happen to find that down there in Charleston somewhere?
I did, yes. All of the ones I'm going to hold up from now on, I've collected.
Wow.
Thanks.
Did someone have a chance of finding one of those if they were beachcombing?
Oh, absolutely. Especially on certain dredge islands. You don't see them as much on Folly, but that's basically because you want to look at a site and see what fossils are represented. So with Folly, we don't get as many fish fossils just because of the environment that's represented there.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, this one's really cool because it's something that we don't really see too often in beach fossils, because whenever a fossil washes up on the beach, it's been pulled from the place where it was fossilized, so it becomes disarticulated. The bones become scattered. So right here is a section of a caudal peduncle from a tuna. And I know you said this was probably a term that the fish people here would know.
Well, listen, we know peduncle, man.
So yes, so this is that region right there where the body narrows right before it flares out into the tail. And this one is, believe it or not, from a tuna. And
yeah, that section of bone there is bigger than any fish in my collection right now. How big do you think that fish was?
Gosh, this one was probably at least a few feet long.
That's a lot of sushi.
It is. Yeah, it's a big fish. Now, we also can find these really bizarre looking vertebrae.
Oh, yeah.
And these guys come from and you would see these don't articulate actually that well. There you can see it right there.
Mm-hmm.
These are from the caudal peduncle of a billfish that we have down here.
Okay.
So, or that we had down here.
What was it?
What
billfish was it?
I don't know if we have a common name, but the scientific name is Aglyptorhynchus.
So probably marlin.
Right, probably. So again, heavily structured support there for that powerful tail that we see in these vertebrae.
Wow.
We can get fish teeth. So these are some little teeth from drumfish. They have that plate of teeth in the back of their throat called the pharyngeal grinding mill. And believe it or not, just like sharks, they will shed these teeth. They will pop out of the top of that mill, and they'll either spit them out or swallow them. And we can find complete mills with these teeth embedded still in the bone.
Now that's a fossil that's covered in your book?
Yes, it is. We don't have a fossilized version to show, but we have a modern black drum mill pictured in what we call the illustrated glossary in the back.
Well, what you just showed us there looked like something I could have seen 1,000 of and not known that it was a fossil, and I should have kept it.
Right. It looks a lot like little tiny phosphate nodules. But our book has really magnified images of them.
You know what's going to happen, Ashby, is I'm going to read your book, and everything's going to be a fossil. There will be no more rocks in my life. Everything will be a fossil.
That's right.
I'm going to need a bigger house.
Yeah. This is a cool one. We can get Barracuda teeth.
That's cool.
And they're incredibly beautiful. Very thin, very teeth, but super sharp, blade-like, and sorry, getting a little feedback. So we get some smaller ones of them as well. I pulled out a couple of the larger examples to show everyone. But this illustrates another point that we look for when trying to find fossils on the beach, is that you're looking for symmetrical objects or things with some type of symmetry to them, whether it's bilateral like this or radial like this shark vertebra. Now, we can also find some really cool things. This kind of goes back into that looks like a rock category. So if I were to show it to you like this, just looks like a lumpy old rock.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like much that way or that way. But if we turn it, suddenly we've got some definition there. And what this is a fish vertebra. And you can see that right in the middle. There's that little funnel-shaped depression in there. And this fish vertebra, the bone underwent a cancerous rate of bone growth. It's called hyperostosis. And the bone just inflates and balloons out. So this is a vertebra where that happened. And this one is a fish skull where that happened.
Wow.
This one would be a lot like a sea robin fish.
Wow. So now we're talking about forensic paleontology.
That's right.
Jeez.
Now, again, a fossil color is determined by the sediment it is in. And I was at a site where you could find white fossils. So this one is a little spine that would have come off of the vertebrae from a fish. But it was at a locality where we could get these just beautifully bleach white fossils.
So cool.
Yeah.
Well, Ashby, I'm going to have to interrupt us here. There's so much more I want to talk about, but time is not our friend. Would you consider coming back and being a guest on another live stream?
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Thank you so much for all of your information. We are all going to go now. We're going to have a rush over to KG Tropicals. We're just going to bust in that guy's live stream, and I want us to take a hashtag over there so he knows that we were live streaming ahead of him, but thinking of him fondly. So let's go over to the KG Tropical live stream. When we land in his chat, let's say hashtag fossil. Hashtag fossil. He'll wonder what's up. He'll figure it out later, but let's go over there. Just storm KG Tropical chat with hashtag fossil. Now, in our closing seconds here, Ashby, I want you to have the final word. Again, thank you so much for being our guest and answering the questions. I know that people are so glad they tuned in tonight. And when I sign off here, if you'll hold tight, we'll talk for a moment off camera. I want to give you these last few seconds to maybe just give your impression of the Bago Beach and close us out with an invitation to visit your YouTube channel and website. Take it away, Ashby.
All right. So, yeah, I've got my bag of beach right here that I sorted out. And just like the waves on the beach, what I did to kind of help my searching easier is I shook the bag to make those larger items rise up to the top, or rather,
what a great idea.
The smaller sand particles to sink down to the bottom. It helped me pick out some of these fossils a little easier. I was pleasantly surprised to find our South Carolina state shell in there. This is the lettered olive.
The lettered olive.
Yep. And so this is shaped like an olive. That's why it's called that. And then the brown squiggly lines on it look a lot like writing. And so that's why it's called a lettered olive. Plenty of native shells in there from South Carolina. I did notice some predation marks on some of the coquina clams. You can saw it, and now it's run away from me, but there was a hole drilled through the mid part of that shell where a moon snail had eaten one of the clams.
I know what you're talking about. I've seen it's like a perfectly round hole.
Perfect circle from thousands of teeth on that snail. And I did get some shark teeth. So here is a native fossil, I will say, to South Carolina. It's a sand tiger shark tooth.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy will probably be more on the anywhere from 5 million to 11,000 year range. And also in the bag were some lighter colored shark teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to hold this guy here. This one is it looks pretty similar to that sand tiger shark tooth, but believe it or not, this one came from Morocco, and it's from either the Cretaceous or the Paleocene. So we're looking right around the extinction of the dinosaurs that these teeth are coming from. And again, like we said, color doesn't determine the age of a fossil. So we have that lighter colored fossil right there. And we even have some of that sandstone still stuck to the lingual side of that tooth.
So what kind of shark was that?
This one's going to be an extinct sand tiger relative.
Okay.
So, and you can get some goblin shark teeth too from that time period.
Mm.
And Morocco is kind of like Charleston in that anywhere you look, there are teeth just busting up out of the ground.
Worth the trip just for the shark teeth.
It is. So yeah, and there's plenty of sand in the bag as well. So that was.
So what's your take on the Bago Beach, Ashby?
I think it's a fantastic introduction to looking for shark teeth and helping you recognize that shape and recognize that pattern.
Mm-hmm.
That's
exactly what I was going for. And I'll interrupt you here just for a second to plug your product, which is the shark teeth sand, which you sent me the 3-pound bag. And I have just been digging teeth and fossil. I'm up to 230 teeth counted.
Look at that.
All right. And lots and maybe twice that many other fossil materials. And still, I promise, I've been through the whole bag twice. There are still shark teeth to be found.
I agree.
Yep. So this is great for beginners. This is a great, put your toe in the water, enjoy yourself, have a blast. When you get Ashby's 3-pound bag, that's a little more advanced project, but if you're into shark teeth, you will love it. Guaranteed you're going to love the shark teeth sand. All right, I interrupted you there, Ashby. What's your closing encouragement for us fish keepers as we are ambassadors now into the world of paleontology, and you to the world of aquarist, and you're about to become a fish keeper again, and we're about to go plan vacations to find fossils. What's your send off for us?
My send off is no matter where you are in the U.S. or in the world, if we have any international guests tonight, you can find fossils probably in your own backyard. You can, I would say it's safe to say within an hour drive of most places on this planet, you're going to be able to find a site that has fossils. They might not be as exciting as shark teeth or saber-toothed cat teeth, but there's going to be some type of life preserved there. So there's a lot of good local resources and guides. Museums, of course, are a great place to start in looking for what life is around you that was previously here on our planet. But I think about our world in a very large range of time, and it's pretty humbling to be a human on this planet right now in this time. So I just encourage everyone to get out there, to get fascinated with the natural world, and just to be excited with what is out there, what has been there before us.
Well, I guarantee you these fish keepers get what you're saying. You're singing a familiar song, and you've helped us to connect to a way that we can get to know our natural surroundings even better. So thank you very much for that, Ashby. And if you guys have any questions that you think of later, feel free to contact Ashby. He's got a website, charlestonfossiladventures.com. I do want you to go to his YouTube channel today, right now, subscribe. Make sure you check out a couple of the videos. You're going to be glad you did. You're going to really enjoy his video style. And he just brings it. He gives you the value proposition. You want to know about fossils. You want to see some fossils. You want to have a good time on a fossil adventure. Every video. I mean, every video I've seen, I'm still catching up on the backlog. But I want you to go give Ashby a subscription. It's the least we could do for him. Ashby, thank you so much for endorsing the Bag of Beach. That's going to be available for anybody who wants one of those on the Fish Room Fever website. Fishroomfever.com is going to be your retail outlet for that Bag of Beach. It's $20. That includes shipping in the United States. No one's going to get hurt. You're going to have a good time. Great stocking stuffer. Ashby, I failed to mention the cost of your 3-pound bag of sand. I know they can find out on the website. If you want to mention it now, you sure can.
Yep, 3-pound bag is $29.99.
Okay, so $29.99 plus shipping, and you can get larger bags
up to 12 pounds.
Okay, there you go. And I'm just going to say worth it. Worth it. If you're into shark teeth, do it. If you're not sure, start out with a little bag of beach, $20. Pick out the shark teeth. Remember what Ashby said, shake it. Get the larger pieces up to the top. They're easier to find. I love this stuff. You can tell I'm excited. You already know that you trust Ashby, and we're going to have him back. We've got some more collabing to do between us. Definitely we're going to follow up on that betta fish. I want all of you guys to head on over to KG Tropicals and give John a big hashtag fossil. We're going to shut it down from here. We're about 8 minutes over. So my apologies to KG Tropicals. I don't think he's going to miss us, but we had some things to talk about, didn't we, Ashby?
We did.
Got them covered. I'm going to give us a send off now. Ashby, you're going to hang around. We're going to see you in just a minute. For the rest of you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I had a blast. We're going to get Ashby back. I'm going to send notifications. So if you're not subscribed to the Pond Life channel, go ahead and take care of that before you leave. Hit the notification bell so you'll know when Ashby comes back. And that's going to do it for tonight. Until we meet again, why don't you get out there and see it, love it, and live it. I'll see you guys.
Thanks, guys.